This is the Truth Network.
Hidden treasures of the 119th Psalm. So today we get to do the 7th verse in the Resh section. How fun is that, digging around in this, which would be the delight in the fear of the Lord anointing on the letter Resh. And as we talk about the letter Resh, it is the idea of a beginning or a head, like the beginning of a river, the headwaters, so to speak. And so it has a lot to do with choices. And just as this section of the Psalm on the Resh started with the idea of consider, because when you're considering something, you're fixed to make a choice. And this has everything to do with the idea of the Resh and everything to do with the idea of a river, which is kind of cool, actually, as I'm delighting in this, that my name is Robert, or Robbie, which begins with a Resh. And so, it's kind of fun that, it's kind of my namesake to choose things. Anyway, this one is asking God to consider, and I absolutely love this. In verse 159 in English, it says, "Consider how I love thy precepts. Quicken me, O Lord, according to thy loving kindness." And so, oh my goodness, it's such an amazing thing. And we've talked about these precepts are these meetings. I'm hoping that you have a time that you meet with God on a regular basis. Those are precepts in my view. Or if you meet at church when you're meeting with other believers, those are precepts. And so if you're like me, you absolutely adore those times where you get to meet with God. And so it's kind of like, how fun is this? We get to actually ask him to quicken us, to make us be born again. It's just a really cool thing. And then I love the way he did it with this one, according to, based on the idea of his loving kindness, which in this case, the Hebrew word that's used for loving kindness is hesed. And it's the same word that, surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. That idea of mercy, of loving kindness, that hesed in Hebrew is an absolutely amazing concept. So, if you're like me and you just had a time, today and yesterday that you met with God, and every single time you meet, in a way, he quickens me with his loving kindness. I'm just telling you, because yesterday, for example, if I'm completely transparent, I'd had quite a difficult time. In fact, I had sort of a temper tantrum on Tuesday night here in the station as we were supposed to record a show, and we had all these people show up, and the engineer got all mad at me that I was even entering the studio. And so we had quite an altercation between me and our chief engineering, which was, clearly not very godly and left me in a very difficult place where, how your mind just runs scripts. Maybe you're not like that, but I do. My mind, when something happens that I think is wrong, maybe it's Satan talking in my ear, I don't know, but my mind just runs scripts of things that I should have said, things I should say. Do they not understand, this anxiousness that goes on that clearly is not got God involved in it, is the matrix in so many different ways. And so, when I woke yesterday morning, I desperately needed a precept. I definitely needed some time to meet with God, and as it turned out, he gave me yesterday morning this beautiful word, so I finally got to the point where I could even pray, right? Because my mind was so upset. I don't know if you're like that, but I actually got up at 4 and I worked, and it was probably by 5:30, like an hour and a half of just trying to break through all the clutter of my mind before I could get to a place where I could hear from God. And he just flipped this word out to me. And honestly, not many times does God, in fact, I'm not sure he had ever spoken Hebrew to me, but yesterday he did. And he just flipped the word kava into my mind. And the idea of kava, we studied the kuf, and this idea of drawing in closer to God. Well, the idea of kava is to be gathered. When God gathered the waters together, the firmament above, the heavens and below, that's the original place you see it. But the other place you see kava is he who waits on the Lord will rise up like wings on eagles. So that idea of drawing into God, that we can hear his expression, is this very, very much related to this whole idea of loving precepts, because when we go into that place of prayer, we very much kava. And so I was just delighting after I had that experience yesterday morning. And I just thought, oh my goodness, I was dead in all my shenanigans that I was thinking about in my mind. And he flips a word and just totally changes my day. And I hope you've had lots of days like that, and you can relate to what I'm talking about. But this verse has everything to me to do with an anointing of the Resh, of when you choose to go into those precepts, right? Then you have the opportunity, right? As the head, you're making a choice, and there, to go into those precepts, then you're putting yourself in a position, from my perspective, to be quickened in his loving kindness, right? And you might even imagine that, my thoughts towards my engineer or our engineer here at the, all these things are much more loving and kind as a result of his loving kindness. Like, oh my goodness, do we need to choose this? We need to choose God in order to find that. Thanks for listening.